Well, hello there. Welcome back. Thank you again for tuning in to another video. Today I'm going to be building by request a Jeb Door operated by a hidden button. Alright guys, real quick before we go diving into this, what we need to realize is that there's actually a couple of different redstone components at work making our Jeb Door function. One would be the bud switch. The bud switch is what's holding your hidden button. Also is the T flip-flops. The T flip-flops keep the door from slamming in your face before you have a chance to walk through it. I'm going to show you both real quick before we dive into this survival scenario. Place a block with a redstone torch behind it. Over and above would be a sticky piston. It must be sticky to pull back your button and push the torch off of it. Below and diagonal of that piston is either a regular or another sticky piston. That one can be either one. Cradled in the corner between the second piston and redstone dust is a block with a repeater on it. Above that repeater is another block and dust on top of it. On the side of that above will be another dust. Towards your first piston is another repeater facing it. A couple things to keep in mind is that behind your second piston is a block and a redstone dust. This is going to be our output. Our output is what sends the signal to our operation. Probably the most important thing to know is that one block above with a space in between the first piston is a block. It's just sitting there. It doesn't look like much, but trust me, it's very important that it's there. If it's not there, the door button will not work like this. It'll work like that, which is not, in my opinion, working. So do not forget this block right here, okay? The other thing that I mentioned is the T flip-flop. That's what's keeping our door open. On two blocks will be redstone dust with a couple of sticky pistons below the sides of those original blocks. Go ahead and tear this stuff out and place a redstone block anywhere in between those. Power them up with a couple of redstone torches. Now, whenever we use a button that's running through this, it'll act like a lever. And as you can see, that redstone block is our new output. So let's go ahead and just get to building this, because I'm sure you're all been waiting very patiently, and I appreciate that. Alright everyone, now that I'm sure we're all anxious and ready to get this hidden door built, I do want to take one last moment to say thank you for bearing with me while I explain that redstone and how it kind of all works together here. From here, we're going to need a minimum required resources of 10 sticky pistons, or 9 sticky pistons and 1 regular one, 8 redstone repeaters or more depending on the length of your line, 6 redstone torches, 2 pressure plates made of either stone or wood, that part doesn't matter what type, and a whole lot of redstone dust. Some of that dust is going to create a couple of redstone blocks, but depending on the length of your wiring is what's going to determine the amount of dust you're going to bring with you. Now the first thing I want to do, as usual, is figure out where my door is going to go. It's going to be right there because that's where I just happened to punch. From the doorway, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Skip 2 blocks, over 1, or 1. On top of that, these are all sticky pistons that I'm using. These two are going to be facing the sides of the first ones I place, and we're going to mirror that on the other side. Just like that. Go toward, if you wish, you can feel free to place your door, and now go on to the top. Again, I like to use the iron blocks here so you can see where the redstone wiring is, but you can use anything for. When I use iron blocks, you're able to use anything you wish. When I use my stone blocks, that's what's going to be visible to the eye. Grab your redstone dust and go to the very end, which will be at the very top of the last pistons. Skip a row, create a square with more redstone dust, skip another row, and make another little line. Should look like that. Grab your repeaters and facing away from your square, place 2 just like that, turn around and place 2 more. Now the repeaters that are closest to your door are not going to be touched at all. That's going to be considered 1 tick with no clicks at all. The ones closest to where you're walking through is on 4 ticks, which requires you to press it 3 times. That's a 4 tick delay. Decide which one of these 2 on the end of your square is going to be your input. Today I'm choosing this one. It can be either one. Place your redstone repeater right there. Place another block. And this is where the end of your output is going to be, leading into your input. From here, you might want to make sure that your door works by placing this torch there. I can find out it worked just fine. I'm going to run around here and tear this out. I'm staying on walk mode just so I have some sort of the difficulties that survivalists have. Now from here I'm going to want to figure out where I want my button. Let's just say it's going to go right there. This right here is going to be the block that gets moved back and forth. It's going to be my button. Underneath my button block, I'm going to place a redstone torch on another block. Going to couple away from my button block will be a sticky piston. Get rid of that. And right here, below and next to your first piston, will be the piston that doesn't matter if it's regular or sticky. It can be regular, so I'm going to use regular. A little less slime balls to use. Now, cradled in between the torch and the regular piston, you place a block with a repeater on it. Do not click it because it requires no ticks at all. Build up next to that and place a redstone dust on it. And next to that, go up again with 1 more redstone dust. Going towards your sticky piston, you're going to place a repeater facing it next to that last dust that you placed. Do not click this one either because again, it requires no ticks. Now next to your second piston, which is my regular piston, I'm going to place a block in the redstone dust. That's one of my outputs. That's going to lead to my first T flip-flop. Above the sticky piston, place that mandatory block that we're not quite sure why is needed, but it is. And test to make sure that this is working. It's best to put your button block on the piston and it should push out. Placing a torch on it should do that. Now if you want to make sure it's completely working, this output will light up when you place your torch on it. It certainly did. So we know it's working. We can replace our wall. Come back here. And coming out from your output, build 1 block with a redstone dust on it. It will activate your bud, but that's quite alright. Now from that, go 1, 2. 1, 2 with the dust. Go below the side of the block. Punch out those under those and that one. Underneath the side of these blocks are going to be 2 more sticky pistons. Just like that, and the rest of the pistons will also be sticky from here on out. Place a redstone block anywhere in here. Place your torches after the pistons, otherwise it's just going to give you a little bit of hassle. It's going to kind of flip-flop back and forth. Now, we're going to make sure that it's still working. By pressing the button block, I'm going to want this to move over there. So let's do that real quick and make sure it did, and does. It certainly did. So I'm going to just want the one that's closest to my door to be my output to save a little bit of space. I don't know if it's going to or not, but let's pretend it does, okay? And we're going to kind of just go up and try to meet up with this one right here. Now, all these white blocks are not going to be seen by your eye when you're walking around. So feel free to use any block that you wish, the cheapest, the best, to save yourself your resources. Now just run your line as close as you can to your contraption. You can even go into that way if you're trying to save space. I'm just going to go ahead and build it out like this. And now lay out your redstone all the way to your input. You're more than likely going to need a repeater to make sure that the current goes all the way through to your door. So we're just going to place one now without even guessing whether or not it's enough. Now by pressing this, after connecting the bud switch to the door, by doing that it should open or close it depending on which state your door is in. Doing it again should do the opposite effect. That's wonderful. Now we have the first button to work. Now coming inside the door, instead of turning around, locating, and pressing a little button, let's just use pressure plates. Let's go as close as we can to the door, which require one space away from your pistons, and you're going to put down your pressure plates right there. Underneath your pressure plates, one space away, will be a little line of redstone dust. It will be taking up the block right under your pressure plate blocks. These redstone dust is going to be the beginning of my second T flip-flop. So kind of just do what you just did on the first T flip-flop, placing your two sticky pistons inward with a redstone block in between them. Kind of get rid of this block right here that's going to be above this torch. Otherwise your T flip-flop is going to do all sorts of crazy stuff from time to time or every time. So let's just kind of like that. See what I mean? So every time you press your pressure plate, it's going to do that, and that's not what we want. Get rid of the blocks above your torches. Okay? Now this is our output for our pressure plate switch. By going over our pressure plates, we should be flopping or flipping the T flip-flop. Certainly did. And you can kind of run over both of them without worrying about locking it up. It doesn't. All that's going to happen at the most is the door is going to open or shut if you go over it too many times. Now from here, you're just going to run another redstone line to a position that I didn't quite explain earlier, and that's because I'm not sure if I would have been able to explain it without showing it. But underneath that second piston on your bud switch, tear out the block and place a torch right under it. From here, run a redstone repeater into that block that has the torch on it. When we run over our pressure plates, it's going to activate the redstone repeater, which is going to flicker the torch, which is going to activate your bud switch, which is going to open or close your door depending on which state you need it in. Now from here, just run out your redstone line. This one, I very rarely need a repeater, but in case you do, just throw one in the middle of it. And by running over this plate, I should open it. By running it over again, I should close it. So we know that that works. That's wonderful. That's exactly what we wanted. Well, these aren't going to be, these are obviously seen, but it depends on, that's your floor, that all depends. Now, so here's your little hallway area into your next room. And just cover up your redstone work. So there we go. We know that it works when we go in and out on these plates, but let's say you come in and shut it and you're on the inside. Let's make sure a friend can go ahead and use it if we trust them enough to know our secret area. Look at that, it still works. So that's wonderful. This is exactly what we were looking for. Now, from here, just cover up everything you don't want seen. I'm going to get rid of this and make it the button that I wish it to be. And while I'm filling this in, which it pretty much already is, I wanted to take the time to let you guys know that any comments or feedback is always appreciated. Suggestions are always welcome. If I know what it is that you guys are looking for, it's a lot easier to build what you want. Without knowing, I can't do it. And I would just like to give you guys the opportunity to engage a little bit and to let me know what it is that we're looking for. Minecraft's been around for quite a while, and I basically don't want to be repeating what everybody else does. So feel free to let me know, message me, comment me. I will do my very best to stay in touch with the community. I would also down the line like to work with some of the subscribers that feel that I'm worth their time to be a part of. So again, thank you guys for watching. Do whatever it is that you do with your videos. Share them with your friends. If I'm helpful, if I'm not helpful, let me know what I can do to change myself. There's so much involved with this that it's just easy to overlook some of the things that need to be done. So again, you guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy. Have a wonderful weekend or week, whatever it is that you're experiencing at the moment.